Action Park
Media.
All right, welcome to Victory the Podcast. I'm Doug Ellin.
Kevin Connolly.
So we're going to be talking Season 8.
Season 4, Episode 8, Gary's Desk.
And guess what?
What?
I mean, we've delayed this for
I know.
various reasons for days. And Dillon honestly hates this episode so much. He doesn't want to talk about it.
Right.
I think something happened with Busey.
No, listen, I will say we've been dreading this episode because, I just remember that our storyline was kind of weak. But there's some good stuff in that episode. It's definitely worth unpacking.
There's some really good stuff, actually, in the episode. I didn't realize. And, credits, I guess some people want us to give us, professional podcasters. Season 4, Episode 8.
Gary's
written
Desk.
By Ali Musica.
Yep.
Directed by Julian Farino.
Thank God he directed this episode, but we're going to get into that. We got some what you don't think that Julian for an episode that I thought we were going to hate, I thought it had a little style to it, and I think thank God it was a director that with some style.
My argument of this, which I find interesting and debatable, and everyone could talk about it, and we do know that we had Mylod, one of the best directors in the business, who's got the menu out right now, and it does Succession and Shameless and
first tier guy.
Yeah, but I mean, a genius, a visual genius, and a storytelling genius. But at the end of the day, to me, the best episodes are always the best scripts in television. And our episodes, this script was definitely not our best ever. And by the way, that's not Ali, because we all,
of course,
we all.
You're just as much at fault for that one.
Yeah, well, I don't. I didn't even mean she's at fault at all. I mean, there's a way it goes down, and how this storyline came about. I cannot even imagine. It's so bizarre. And it feels like one of those things. And I'm only talking the Gary's Desk thing because I actually think the Sklar Brothers stuff is hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I forgot about all that stuff. I forgot about taking out the ads and all that kind of stuff. But let's cover some house business first. The JSX Queens Boulevard Film Festival. So here at 8 p.m. we have narrowed it down to 5 finalists. So we have 5 finalists. We are going to email these finalists, and then we're going to narrow it down to 3. Does that sound? Does it sound weird that if you get an email and then you don't make the top 3, or should we just email the winners?
No, they give
email the finalists.
Yeah, they want to know they're in the finals.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna email the 5 finalists, and then Doug, me, you, Jerry, Dillon, and the CEO of JSX, Alex Wilcox, will vote. And then we're going to have a winner and 2 honorable mentions. So it's going to be fun.
And the winner's going to be flown out here on JSX.
JSX,
provided they're in a JSX flight.
JSX place.
Path.
But yeah, JSX is going to give them. They'll get a flight somewhere.
And
hopefully
speaking of JSX and semen retention, by the way, I mean I just have to bring this up. I mean Adrian, I've got 100 people sending me this video of him on a podcast.
I got to say, I got that a lot.
I mean, honestly, 100 people sent it to me, and by the way, I'm not even judging him. Maybe if I was a younger man, I would decide that I need to retain my semen, but clearly I didn't retain it, and I now have a baby.
Semen retention.
I mean, I know I'm being very serious because a couple of things are.
I just don't have the context for what he's talking about. I just saw a clip. I didn't listen to the whole podcast.
Well, I didn't listen to the whole podcast either. Don't shame me.
Yes,
but
you did.
I mean, I think
you wanted to hear all about his semen retention.
I think what it is like to deprive yourself of
Well, I know. I mean,
an
listen,
orgasm for a long time.
I can add 1 + 1.
Well, that's
I know what it means,
did.
but I don't know what the context.
The context
for the
was
semen
he I think kind of had a porn addiction. I think he was saying, and I don't want to spread the wrong message because I did just watch the clip, but I think that he
went through a point where he said, "I'm going to be celibate."
And then, but what he says is when you,
but that's what they clip, right? That's I don't want to say it's clickbaity, but that's the clip. I did, but no, I didn't even, dude. I didn't click it. I got 1 million people sent to me.
You couldn't even retain yourself from watching it.
I mean,
so, but anyway, I guess you don't come for a week, a month, a year. I have no idea. And
is
then,
it like sober October?
I mean,
but with semen.
By the way, we have Gary Goldman, a producer, assistant director extraordinaire.
Who also knows Adrian for 1,000 years.
Who's also retained semen, right?
Correct. Gary has not retained all the semen. He's got kids. Gary's got kids out there in the universe, so clearly his semen has not been
boxers,
like before a big fight,
yeah,
right?
before a fight, they
retain their semen.
I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. I know it was like Raging Bull. I remember that when he puts his ice on his dick. For
Well, yeah, I don't. Again, we might be talking way out of school here. I don't know if it's true, but I think you're not supposed to. I think you're supposed to practice semen retention like a week or so leading up to
a fight.
Yeah,
Builds
makes
up
you
aggression.
stronger. Right. Is that
So what do you
it is?
think? So what do you think Adrian was doing it for? I mean, just to.
I don't know, but who knows? You know, he's listen, man. Grenier has obviously been on some journey. You know, and
I'm not
and
saying anything.
no, listen. We're not
Speaking
saying
what happened.
we want to hear about it.
Yeah. So that being said,
would you be able to be fair to Grenier and if he came on the podcast about like semen
what am
retention?
I, fucking Mike Wallace? I'm he's my friend and he's my brother. By the way, I'll retain semen to get him on the fucking podcast.
Should we all retain our semen for a week leading up to his visit?
Well, I was going to say I'll donate to him, but I'm not. I cannot have another kid out in the universe. But Adrian, we spoke.
Would you retain your semen for 30 days?
Yeah, I could do that.
30-day challenge?
At 55, I can do it, and especially with the baby in the house now, it's
Right.
like I think
It's
I
not
have
even
been
a
retaining my
challenge.
semen. By the way, I mean the challenge would be like, will I ever have sex again? So I think that Adrian that we spoke to the other day.
I just think we're gonna have to hear like it's gonna be a pretty intense podcast. I don't think it
great.
can be as comedy based as normal.
By the way, he can. I know
You're an open-minded guy, ish.
like you said. He went through a journey, and he's said some things about the show that he looks at the world that he lived in back then as a different thing. Now me, who didn't live the life that any of you were living during the show, look at it very differently also, because I did nothing. I sat in the office and fucking worked all day while you guys partied.
Right,
so
but
I
he's
have no
also
regrets.
not really just pointing it at the show either. He's like kind of taking responsibility for himself. He's not like putting it on
I don't
the show.
think he pointed anything at the show. Yeah, you keep. He's like Mike Wallace. He keeps trying to like make it like I'm saying something bad.
I just know. I mean, I
Let
just
me be
know it's
crystal
gonna be.
clear.
It's gonna end up being like a semi-serious interview.
Let
You
me
know
be
what I mean?
crystal clear.
And
I
you're
love
already
Adrian.
talking semen retention.
That's what's on his plate. I mean, that's what he wants to promote.
Do you want to do you want to deep dive the semen retention on Victory?
I mean, sure. I'd like to. As Adrian once said to me, you don't know what it's like to be a great-looking guy.
No, that's not what. That's out of
So,
context.
yeah,
That's out of. Well,
what do you mean?
you said something to him first.
I said something. I wanted to do something to his hair.
No, you guys were arguing about, and you said, "Well, you don't know anything about like writing scripts," and you
No,
go,
no.
or I don't, and you
you're
don't know anything about being good looking.
You are completely.
That's what it was.
By the way, that's a Kevin Connolly burn, not an Adrian Grenier. That is not even remotely close to what happened.
That's how I remember.
It was out of left. You weren't there. You only remember me telling you, and that's not what happened. What happened was
you said something snide first, and he responded.
I said I want to do something with your fucking hair, and he basically told me what the. By the way, I had great hair back then. It wasn't about anything. It was like, you have no business telling me about my hair because you don't understand that all women want my retained semen.
Jesus Christ.
No, but I mean, it was out of left
You guys,
field. If I would have said you don't know a thing about
creative
scripts.
discussion, and he was like, I think I'll look ridiculous, and you're like, well, I don't.
By the way, Gary, are you listening to Connolly? How confident he's now retelling the story when he actually made up a completely false narrative?
I
Sounds
believe,
like he believes it.
I believe,
Yeah,
and
he does.
I'll get further. Ferraro will remember this one.
None of you were there. It was in Adrian's trailer.
But
I
I
walked
remember
in.
that-
I wanted to talk to him about his hair. I
You
will say
said
this.
something along the lines of you don't know anything about
No,
doing something,
no,
and whether it
no.
was writing or directing.
That's my point.
And he said, and you don't know anything about being good looking.
Grenier is not a tit for tat type of guy.
He was that day.
So, Gary, Connolly was not in the trailer.
But I
in
had
the
my
trailer.
ear to the street, bro.
I believe I was on marching orders from Lev because, to be honest with you, I didn't really spend much time on Adrian's hair. I was much more about the fucking hat when he wore the wrong thing, or the sneakers, or wearing a watch.
It'll come to me. We'll have to
getting
bring
his chest to pop a little more.
We'll have to recap this on a later episode because you said something. But whatever. I'm not gonna put words in your mouth.
By the way, this is like almost like when someone gets railroaded. I'm not even
Gaslit.
I'm not even mad at Adrian for saying it, because what I was gonna say before you went into a whole story, I've always been very happy with my looks, whatever they are. But Adrian's better looking than me. I'm not stupid. I fucking get it. Otherwise, I would have played Vince.
Right.
But it was really out of left field, and it was almost like one of those moments. I got my buddy, and I know nobody wants to hear about pickleball, but my buddy Wes Burrows, who hit the sickest shot today,
Okay.
which we may have to put up.
Great.
he sometimes, I tried to fucking wake this tiger up out of him so he can be a little nasty, because I'm nasty on the pickleball court, even though I can't play like these guys. And Wes is just like, so he's getting nastier. And the other day, he hit me on like a group chat with just a really aggressive, abusive comment that was funny, that I loved. But Adrian hit me with this out of nowhere, and it's not really like Adrian's style. He's not a guy that kind of busts on you or does that. That's why it was
aggressive.
Yeah, and that's why he's much nicer than Connolly. That's why Connolly is telling a story that would have happened if I said to Connolly, "You don't know anything about scripts," and then Connolly said, "You don't know anything about good looking," and then I'd go, "Listen, you're all right looking. You ain't fucking Adrian."
You guys were arguing over a line of dialogue.
We were not arguing at all.
You're arguing right now. Are you going to argue with him when he comes on the podcast? That's what I'm saying. So I mean, I'm just trying to set the scene. Wherever it were to happen, Austin. Here, there, Zoom, whatever, and you go into your thing. All right, welcome, Victor's Podcast, Doug Ellin, blah, blah, blah. Special guest, big episode. We got Adrian Grenier on the podcast. What's up, Adrian? Right? Are you prepared for anything?
Anything. I love it, by the way. If I could
deal
with
Busey,
I could deal with anything.
Are you going to control the tempo of the interview? Or are you going to let it? Are you going to let him take it where it may go?
Listen, I am not although some people find my voice silky and smooth, like Gary Beth David. Is that his name? Patrick Beth David?
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the podcast, he goes, "God, you have the silkiest smooth voice," which made me feel really good. But I'm not a professional at this. I'm here. It's for fun. Right. I'll do the best I can. That's it. But I'm interested in hearing about Adrian. I love Adrian, and I am interested in hearing about his life over the last decade.
I wonder about your interview skills, because you're going to be heading that one up.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you, I'm the best interviewer.
No, I don't think. But I'm saying, are you just going to go with the flow? Or are we going to be talking about semen retention and all that stuff?
If he wants to talk semen retention, I will talk semen retention. What else can I tell you? I'll talk whatever Adrian wants to talk about. But
you want to hear about. But I'm saying is, do we want to hear about the journeys, or do we want to talk about the old times?
I want to talk about both, and I'll get him to talk about both, and I will get him to open up. And if you want him to fucking unretained semen in your fucking studio, I will get him to do it.
He's got so much to talk about. He's lonely well. And
that's what I'm saying.
By the way, he was on a hit Netflix show. He's married. Connolly, by the way. Somehow Connolly has turned this into like I am the mean guy.
No,
on
not
the
that.
You're the bully, bro.
I don't think you're the mean guy of the group, but I think I could let a conversation
get stock tip
go anywhere. I wasn't even gonna mention semen retention on the pod. You brought it up right away. All right, but that's good. That's good.
Anyway,
it doesn't matter.
What I keep trying to say is we spoke to Adrian on a group text. He said he wants to do the podcast. We offered to fly him here, and then what I'm saying to you as the closer of this business. You need to now go, Adrian, can we please lock a date? And then you need to call JSX and say, here it is. So you need to do that. That's, if I wanted to get Adrian on Ramble On, which I will want to get him on Ramble On, I will be the one who calls him and goes, hey, I want you on this. But this is your company, so you have to do that. Speaking of your company, we need to get into something else. There's something weird happening at Action Park Media.
What's happening?
I need to know what happened.
There's all kinds of weird shit happening. I
don't
even know what you could be talking about.
Stock Tip Dave, I came in, and he's no longer Stock Tip Dave. What is happening? He's rebranding
He's thinking about rebranding.
He's
thinking about rebranding. So we're trying to pitch some... Well, we had a happy hour. We had an Action Park happy hour down the street at Mr. Furley's last night, and it went awry. Dave got mad because we were pitching ideas.
What were the ideas?
It was a creative conversation gone terribly wrong, but we were all laughing. We thought Dave was in the bathroom.
Well, you were all laughing because you were fucking hammered, because you guys called me, and I had a girlfriend who I dated before Sarah who called me once with 4 of her friends, and this was someone who I thought was kind of sophisticated, but she called me annihilated, and she's like, like friends with a real entourage, okay? Like these 4 sloppy drunk girls.
That was a horrible impression.
You don't even know her. What are you talking about?
No, just a disgusting impression.
It was repulsive.
Are you implying that Scotty and Dave and I sounded like that last night?
Without the... Okay, I don't want to misgender anybody, but with the...
Make sure you get that right.
With the voices, I mean, so... Basically, when this ended our relationship, by the way, and I told this woman after that, because, by the way, this is like...
It was just a turn-off that she was that hammered?
Yeah, I was like, listen, I'm 50 years old. This isn't, like, cool. And, by the way, that night, I'm not even joking.
Plus, and then it's like an Entourage reference to go along with it.
Oh, the whole thing was awful. Yeah. And, by the way, we'd never talked about Entourage. I didn't even know she watched it. It was, like, not like one of those things.
Oh, you thought she was just around for your pickleball skills? What the fuck you think she was doing there in the first place?
By the way, Gary, are you fucking
she had
listening
no
to this
idea.
guy? Like, Adrian would ever attack me like this?
She had no idea. She didn't even watch Entourage.
By the way, Connolly had suddenly turned himself into Adrian. He's like, so then you said to Adrian, and he said, I'll fucking put you through the fucking wall, bro. That's not what happened. So anyway, but that night, 4 o'clock in the morning, I never used to lock my doors, which now, since there was a mass murder next to my house last week, I now have to lock my doors with my German Shepherds. And my, no, 8 people. 8 people were shot and 4 people are dead and 2 in critical condition. That's a mass shooting. So, but anyway, that night, she walked into my house at 4 o'clock in the morning. You know I go to sleep at 9:30. I'm out, and the dogs went bananas. I don't know what's happening. I grabbed my gun, which at the time had no bullets, and I came out, and how about that? So that's a real story.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point was...
So you were thinking at one point that maybe Scotty and I were going to show up at your house like, Doug!
You guys were so hammered and were yapping.
You met this girl, and you just thought like, wow, I just wowed her with my personality. She knew nothing about Entourage, didn't know about kissing a fool.
Let's get back to the Stock Tip Dave rebranding.
I mean, do you see how he's hitting me, though? And by the way, I just want you to know for that
I think
fucking...
it's like therapy. It's
but
good
I
for
need
you
to say,
guys.
for that jerk-off who says I'm mean to Connolly, this is what happened. I
I'm
haven't
being
said
a
anything to
hard-hitting
the guy.
interviewer. I'm just asking the questions that
I'm
people
not
want to hear
even
about.
taking it sensitive. But anyway, the reality of what happened last night is 2 drunk Irish fucking guys called me up. They were so excited about Stock Tip rebranding himself. Glenny Balls. They must have mentioned Glenny Balls 9 times. Who I know who Glenny Balls is. I love Glenny Balls, and I kept saying, "What about Glenny Balls?" And they kept going, "He loves Entourage." I'm like,
no.
So what?
No. That's not why we were saying Glenny Balls. We were talking. Dave is having a hard time like jumping on board with pulling the trigger on a rebrand, and I'm saying these guys like Glenny Balls, who at Barstool, and Brianna Chicken Fry, like they have done these names, and like they're fucking making gazillions of dollars.
Was Glenny Balls?
Glenny Balls is doing really
First of
well.
all, you didn't let me finish.
What is it?
I know Glenny Balls is doing well.
Right.
Did he rebrand? Was he something?
No, but I'm
prior
saying
to that?
like he plays a character. He's
Okay,
Glenny Balls.
Stock Tip was Stock Tip. So anyway,
He wants to rebrand the character.
if anyone could still follow this.
Yeah, we lost.
I didn't understand what was happening because exactly what you're saying there. I didn't know there was a rebrand. I don't know if
Right.
Dave's involved. But Dave, just so you know, I'm pushed into just tell Dave you like Chip. So I'm like, all right. So I fucking text Dave, I like Chip. Dave responds to me, unlike you and Adrian. Dave responds to me in less than 90 seconds if I text him. Nothing. So
He was
now
mad. Yeah.
I'm texting the guys. I'm like, why did I get fucking involved in this? Is Dave going to be mad at me now? And they kept saying he's happy. He's happy. He's happy. When I
Chip
walked in
Van
this
Grove.
morning,
Chip Van Grove
I learned the
is
truth.
gonna be his new name because
That-
that's his middle name.
But Dave stormed out of the bar.
He stormed out of the bar. Nobody. We
But you didn't
we
tell
thought he
me
was
that.
in the bathroom.
You did-
We thought he was in the bathroom. I'm like, he was the only one. He thought that something was happening there that was not happening.
All right, Dave, we're going to give you a chance to talk. Do you want to rebrand Stock Tip, Dave?
I mean, I like the name, but I walked out of the bar not because of the name, because I tried to put my Instagram name back to Stock Tip Dave, and that made me angry, and I'm like, forget this, and I stormed out and walked home.
We
Dave,
were
you
all-
ever retain semen, Dave?
Dave retains Steven.
You ever seen a grown man naked, Dave?
No.
And by the way, for anyone who thinks I'm weird, that's from the movie Airplane. One of the great movies of all time.
We had a blast last night at the 8 p.m. happy hour. But apparently Dave did not.
The 8 p.m. happy hour is you and Scotty.
No, Kevin Connolly and Dave. We all went to
Oh.
Mr. Furley's. Yeah.
All right,
let's
when we
get
come
into
back.
it.
No, when we come back. See,
right.
although, by the way, also, people are complaining about ads, Connolly.
We're on it. Hear
So
me.
there's going to be less ads.
Just listen close. We're on it.
Listen close to what?
To
Are you
me,
gonna say
when
something?
I tell you that we are on it.
Meaning there'll be less ads.
You've been heard.
Okay.
You've
They've been
been
heard. All right,
You've
we'll be
been
back.
heard. All right, we're coming back.
Welcome back to Victory the Podcast, Season 4, Episode 8, Gary's Desk.
Desk.
Dylan hates it. He was painted by Gary Busey. Something else may have happened.
Bad storyline.
Yeah.
Bro. Let's start with the storylines. Let's start with the worst part of it. What happened with where was Gary Busey at this point in his life? Gary Goldman, who's also joining us, who's our ace assistant director and knows probably more about behind the scenes than you and I do.
Last week we were talking about Gary Busey, and then I'm not friends with Gary Busey. And then we walked out of the studio, and Dave Perkel, our cinematographer, calls me up, and he's with Gary Busey. He calls us on a FaceTime and puts Connolly and Dillon on a FaceTime with
You
Gary
put
Busey.
me in Dillon.
Well, whatever.
By the way, that was honestly, if I had to say one of my biggest pet peeve is when people just stick me on a FaceTime with somebody. And Gary Busey, he can't hear where you're like tall. It was a super wild, uncomfortable. I didn't know that. So the Perkel was with him?
Yeah, Perkel
I didn't
called.
know that's who was.
What do you think? I called Gary Busey?
I don't know. I figured somebody ran into
And
him.
about your
it was
pet
Perkel.
peeve, there's 0% chance that if Gary Busey FaceTimes me and I'm sitting with you, that I'm not going to answer it and
Just to
with
take
you.
a little pressure off you. Yeah.
No, I mean, I wouldn't answer it to talk to Gary Busey. I don't have anything to say to Gary Busey. So
Well, right. Yeah, it was weird though. It was awkward.
Do you think?
But that's a coincidence. You're right. As we sit to talk about Gary's death.
Exactly. So, well, we were talking about Busey actually, weirdly enough, last week because we were still talking about this episode that we're not going to do that we finally are doing. So anyway, the storylines. Which Connolly's storyline, he's got a good storyline. He's trying to start an office. He's trying to get some respectability. He's trying to get people to take him seriously.
Be the person of the record. So the business knows that they can go out and speak to somebody in Vincent Chase's camp.
And it will be interesting because in real life, Kevin Connolly, who plays Kevin Connolly in our new show, Ramble On, you deal with this stuff, right? I mean, this was not an unrealistic story for a guy who's starting a new business, who's trying to get some traction, correct?
Yeah, no, it is. It's hard, and you know, that kind of management can even. By the way, we're talking about it's even like talent management, like the idea that I understand that I got to lock down Grenier. I got to lock it down. It's stressful for me because it's not easy because you're dealing with other people. It's different. Like acting and anything in the filmmaking side is very, to a certain extent, in your hands, right? But when you get into this stuff, and there's a lot of personalities. It's stressful.
Like
That's
show
why I
running.
smoke weed.
Show running?
I'll call Adrian for you.
What's that?
I'll call Adrian for you. I'll book him.
Which,
Yeah,
by the way,
Gary Goldman could book him.
is what
Yes.
you should be doing, is having Gary who can go out there and, because
Fearless.
yeah, because the truth is like even as a showrunner, which a lot of what Connolly was just describing is difficult. But Gary's the one who has to really deal with these egos and the bullshit. And I don't mean Adrian's ego, but like
Well, just
Gary
in general,
Busey.
actors. Yeah, Gary Busey.
Because didn't something happen on the set with Gary Busey on this episode with a car ride or something?
Yeah.
Well, also, the other thing, if you look, I think this is the most together that he's been. Didn't it feel that way? Like maybe he was going in he looked kind of in shape and kind of thin, and it looked like, I don't know, he didn't have that same crazy Gary Busey vibe in this episode to me, performance-wise.
Right. It was a good episode for him because it was one location for him. He didn't have to show up to different places. He likes to do the same match where he was the same day, coming back, just like
That's
the
what
story about the driver.
The
which you
driver.
can
He
throw
got
in.
dropped off. They sent the car to pick him up, and when at the end of the day, he wouldn't get in the car until it was the same car with the same driver.
Right. Different teamster.
Different teamster. He wanted the same.
He wanted the
setup
same
going home.
teamster.
The same teamster in the same car to take him home. It was like a weird something
Like
like,
his
that,
OCD or
Right.
something?
right?
or what-
Maybe something like that. But
Scenes with Gary always take a few minutes longer than you would guess because Gary likes to improv.
But I don't
a
remember
lot.
this episode being Busey on the beach, which still is one of my favorite episodes and really almost killed me because Gary was, he was brutally difficult on that episode.
that's the first time we worked with him.
Yeah.
But I think by the second time around, Gary, and stop me if I'm wrong, you guys would almost prepare for him, right? You would pad that day a little bit.
I remember when we got the script, the crew and everyone's reaction was similar to Adrian's reaction in the script where whose desk is it? It's Gary's. And then we're all like, oh, another episode with Mr. Busey.
Yeah.
But it worked out well this time.
Right, but you have to prepare for him. It's like, you go, all right, this is going to take us we should allow a little more time to get
He has
ready.
a process.
Gary, whether you want to name names or not, you don't have to.
Okay, good.
Give me, but Gary, you've done
I'm very private.
You've done probably 200 plus episodes of television.
More than that.
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
High
Yeah,
end.
But high end.
High end.
Yeah, high end, irrelevant to the story. What's some of the most difficult things you've dealt with talent who your job, aside from which it's weird that it is even your job is so all encompassing, but a lot of times you're the guy that has to be the guy that gets someone out of their trailer or gives them a call time. So what's like one of the most
encourages them to, your job is to create the most economical and fun environment for them to be in and to perform their best. That's more difficult for some actors than other actors. Some people don't want to be there. That's really the most challenging thing.
That is true, right?
They just don't want to be there that day, or actors have private lives, and maybe they had a really bad day, and they got to shine in front of the camera and light it up. And
give us a
difficult.
story. You don't have to tell us who, but give us a story. Like what's like one of those days where you're like, I can't believe I have to deal with this crap.
Oh, I'm not going to name names because that's we don't do that here. We're family. Right. But some days on another show. An actor was in such a furious mood that we were about to roll, and I said action, and then the camera battery died, which is something that happens.
Well, things happen.
Things happen. You got to change lenses. The light moves a little bit. The camera battery died. It shouldn't have died right before. This particular actor likes when you call action, everything better be ready. And because of that, he stormed off a set, made a huge scene, yelling at everybody, all because the battery was dead. And then we shut down for a half hour, 45
And
minutes.
now
later.
Gary-
That's a
Had to come back.
dagger to a day, too.
That's just brutal.
Now, Gary, you work more than Connolly and I on sets, even though Connolly just played Jesus Christ in a movie.
Very handsome.
Coming out. An announcement came out today. I had a question, Gary.
Yeah, you work more than.
So
Yeah.
now, can you get away with behavior like that in 2023? I mean,
I would like to say no, but I still think it happens. I mean,
but have you seen anything recently that's as bad as some of the stuff, or has it gotten? Because again, to
No.
me, I need to just say as clearly as I can, and you'll never, whether I had arguments with my friends or my internal staff, there was never anything that was crazy.
Nothing like that.
There was
No.
never anything crazy on our set, but I have been around actors and talent who don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And also who believe they're better than everybody else who is there. And it drives me crazy for a number of reasons. For one, the crew is usually much tougher than the actors and the writers and the directors, and they're working harder than the actors and the directors. And I get that at the end of the day, it's their face and they have to look good and all of this shit. But I find it one of the most self-entitled positions in Hollywood, where they believe they're more important than the other thing. And again, I've worked with some of the best actors in the world who are awesome and easy, and Connolly's one of them for the most part.
I really think that's an exception to the rule. Those arseholes really do suck the air off the set, but most of the cast out there are really glad to be there and really just want to make it a better day. One note there is that you asked in 2023, I think since post-COVID, people are more
Grateful to be there.
grateful to be working and to be there and not be stuck at home.
Yeah.
So it's a
Because
little
on our
less of
set,
that.
by the way, because we did Ramblon was 8 days. I mean, was there a more enjoyable place to be on a daily basis? It was awesome. Like,
No, it's
it's like I
creative enclave. It's just so fun.
want to get back there. So,
You
all
know
right.
what it is, and I'm not defending the actors because I agree with you, Doug. But I think, actors, unfortunately or fortunately, is what sort of makes the world go round, right? So you can get away with things if you bring value, right? And look, if you take, I'm just saying, like, if you take, and I don't know this, but like, take a CSI Miami, right? Wasn't Crusoe a handful or something, right?
Yeah.
But it's the star of the show. 30 million people a week watch
Give
it.
it to him.
Just like whatever. If he wants to come in, you just kind of deal with it if it's working, right?
Especially with schedules. Like if they they're supposed to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they come to you and say, I really can't come in on Wednesday. And that's just
But the trick
very
is,
difficult.
we've all seen Caruso's a classic example of it. So for anyone who's out there, it's like the guy was a star of two of the biggest shows on the history of television, and now I don't know where the fuck he is.
Well, you would think he's got about $1 billion, hopefully,
Well, I don't know about hopefully or not, because he was apparently an asshole. So I don't root for him that money. My point is, though, it may catch up with you, and you better deliver over and over and over if you're going to be a jerk. But the real point is why be a jerk? This is the greatest job in the world when you get it. And by the way, we know, everyone in this room, it's not easy to get them again. It's not easy to get a hit show, no matter how talented you are. And I don't mean me, you guys. It's tough. So you should enjoy it and be grateful when you get the opportunity. So.
Trying to think, I've seen some pretty wild shit, but I think it goes back to kind of what Gary said. Especially on a long run of a show, you do 6 years, 7 years, 8 years with somebody, you're going to see them go through things, everybody in some capacity, right? So,
but you don't see, for the most part, and again, I'm not saying as a rule, because there's horrific showrunners out there. We've heard that story. There's, Gary and I worked with a DP who I thought was amazing, but he had a reputation that pretty much destroyed his career before we worked with him. But he was good with us. But you don't see Mark Mylod or Julian Farino have a fucking meltdown on the set, but they're still forced to deal with the actors. And my point now is those guys, especially Mylod. Mylod's a guy who can now give actors jobs. Like, he was just a gun for hire 20 years ago, and now he's a guy that, hopefully he remembers, not only was he talented, but he was awesome to be around, because I think those combinations are a good thing. So, Connolly, give us
I'm saying bringing it back to Gary, right? So, I think Gary did the first episode, Busey's Beach, and I would imagine, just based on how popular the episode was and the response to Busey, that, he was ready to dial it up in his second go at it, and then it becomes a little bit where it's a little bit about him, right? The whole day. I don't know. I'm sure that you wrote better stuff.
I don't know if Gary Busey even thought about the show, because when there were a couple of times I saw Gary Busey at the premiere, and he was like,
"You and I have worked together on something."
Yeah,
before,
what do
right?
I know you from? I'm like this, and then at the movie, it was like he had never been on the show before, you know. So, and again, Gary.
I was happy I was not in that scene.
Gary was nice on a lot of parts of
nice.
it, but he also had a very severe motorcycle accident that definitely impacted him. The guy's an Oscar winner or nominee?
Nominee. I mean, he was high maintenance in the nicest way possible. And as much as everybody was like, oh boy, it was almost like people got kind of giddy, started talking about it, like, yo, we got Busey on Wednesday. It's almost like everybody came in ready to go on the Busey day to lock in all their stories. So there was that too. But
when Gary did the podcast,
I'm a little disappointed in the scene, if I'm being totally honest.
Well, in the scene of the writing, or the scene
I don't
pop.
know. That's what I'm saying. But it just didn't seem like when he's free flowing like he was on the beach that day, like it was working, and it just didn't feel like it worked as strongly.
Yeah,
as masterfully as Julian Farino shot it. That's what I'm saying. Thank God we had a guy who knew what he was doing behind the camera, because visually the episode is good.
And by the way, it's a good point, because I do look at it now and I go, that scene didn't work. I don't know if it was the writing. I mean, the story is Vince wants to get E a great present, and he's got a connection to Robert De Niro, where that desk allegedly is from, Scorsese De Niro, which is New Yorkers. We love it.
It was Mickey Rooney's desk, and what was it, Breakfast at Tiffany's?
Did they say Breakfast at Tiffany's? I think so.
And then De Niro got it from Scorsese after New York Stories.
Yeah, by the way, I know me as someone like, that's a piece of memorabilia that I would like to have. So it had a strong desire line to it that Vince wanted to get something for E.
But you're not going to remember. I don't know if you remember this, but if I'm watching that scene today with them selling him the desk, it feels like they're lying, doesn't it?
A little bit.
It felt like, oh, you got to have a story behind every piece, right? And she said, Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's, like, oh, also De Niro's. Like, I don't know. It felt like you were trying to tip the audience off.
You know what?
That maybe they were.
But again,
bullshitting.
it's also part of the same thing, like performance or writing. I'm 100% sure, because that's the storyline, that they wanted that desk because it had some personal meaning. Right. Now, maybe we didn't write enough details about it where, Vince would have said Scorsese and this and that. We probably should have had some of that. But you're right, that scene also, which, when I was watching it, two things I'll say about the beautiful girl. Do you have her name, Dave?
Rachel Roberts.
So Rachel Roberts.
Who was the girl that says about Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's, the saleswoman.
Yeah, but then she basically just, is willing to go home with Vince. And
she walks out of the apartment later, and you rolled your eyes and were like, all right, maybe.
Yeah, because when they criticize, this is the depiction of woman. Now, I'll be very clear, and Connolly, you know this from being around a lot of movie stars. I've seen less. I've seen it take a lot less for a movie star to take. But at the same time, when you're watching
it, be that way. Maybe
when you're watching it on a show, it would have been better if there was some type of connection between them. Besides that, he's Vince and she's just willing to do it because she was.
The thing is, he flirted with her, got the desk, and then he took the girl home.
But I think part of what the show was, and certainly at the time, it was this wish fulfillment that if you're a movie star, you can do that. Which again, you can, and you can do it in 2023, but. You want to see the spark. You want to see something. I don't know.
They should have had a little bit more of a connection. It would have bothered you less if it didn't feel just like a callback joke.
Yeah, exactly. A joke. And that's the thing. And the same thing with the desk. If I really felt, which we know is true because we know from later episodes how much the guys love Scorsese and De Niro and,
of course.
They're doing,
we've already talked about that. Come on, Vince. I want to shoot you long lens.
Yeah. So it would have been nice to feel more of that because by the time you get to Busey's house, you're really not that interested in anything except for how crazy Busey's going to be. And what I think you're saying is, I'm not sure the writing's so bad. Busey doesn't pop the way he popped in the first one.
That's what it is.
It's less energy.
Yeah.
Some cutaways are after when they puts the paint on drama. There's all these other scenes that didn't get put in, not scenes, but cuts that didn't get put in, where she takes that whole bucket and pours it over his head. And it would be.
That's right. On the
Why
day,
wasn't it put in?
I don't know.
You mean we shot it?
We shot it at the end. That was like the final note. I remember Dillon being,
I was about to say, Dillon did not like
about having his shirt off and just standing there. And
and by the way, Dillon looked great when I saw him with his shirt off.
I thought Dillon looked good.
Yeah,
push-ups in between every time.
But I remember that Dillon did not like that whole scene. Thought it was stupid. Which part of it kind of was. It's a little, you know.
Well,
what
it wasn't. Well, it could have been. There are things that if we thought would have been stupid and worked, and that could have been good. I don't know. Like you said, he just didn't. Busey just didn't pop.
But you know what it also is? It's like this show, which I like to think, and a lot of the other stuff in this episode, even the twins, is a little pushed, but it's pretty realistic. That shit happens in agencies, whether it's identical twins or not. That stuff happens with sex with coworkers, and the boss has to deal with it. But the Busey thing, when I look at it now, there could have been anything. They have to get that desk from him, and it could have been anything that Busey wanted them to do. And a more realistic thing is probably Busey wants Vince to do his son's short film, or he wants something that's a little more realistic and not so silly. But I don't know. I think
you at one point you looked at me like during the painting scene. You're like, "This is stupid."
Yeah, no, it was hard to watch for me actually. It really was. And the opening of this show. So let's just start at the beginning. I mean, I was like, why did I hate this so much? It pops from minute one.
Oh, nice walk and talk.
Good
That's what I'm saying.
dialogue.
Technically, it was a really well done episode.
No, but also just the dialogue was good, and we always loved the Murphy Group. You and I have been talking about the Murphy Group for fucking 20 years.
Murphy Group is hilarious.
And calling Jackie Stone is one of my best friends from high school, and I don't mean the actor. The character's name is Jackie Stone in the scene, and getting the interview and stuff. It is.
There are certain things. Seth Green. Tell Sloan I set it up is a big one. So there's like a top tier list of like comments, suit, like there's, and then there's like the bottom, the lower tier of people and there's a lot. I get a comment about that a lot.
The Murphy Group.
Why the group?
Yeah.
You got one client.
That's what I just thought was so funny.
Yeah, right. Well, we ran that one for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
why
that.
the group?
But all of it, the whole episode feels so unrealistic. Like there's 0% shot they're going to Hollywood Boulevard to get like The Office. I don't know what they're doing there. Besides, it looks great.
It's where the Murphy Group could afford, and that was a really good, different look for the show because we're always down in Beverly Hills, our nice house. It was good to be a little gritty,
right? So, and you're on Hollywood Boulevard, right?
Like gritty area
iconic.
But
but that's where it's funny. Mm-hmm. That's you guys being super. Yeah, that's where the Murphy Group would have existed. Yeah, that's where.
I don't think it would have. That's my point. I don't think that Leo's manager would fucking take that office.
But
I just don't.
That's a little.
I'm just saying. I always try
like
to be
he's
really
trying to
realistic.
get out on his own.
No, I get it.
Do his own
Believe
thing.
me, I get the whole thing. I'm just saying it was more of a choice of style, and I think that's where the episode kind of goes wrong. Rather than staying grounded and realistic, and whether he's got to fucking, ask Ari to give him a back room in the mail, whatever it is, it just wasn't very realistic to me to put him in there. All of it feels for comedy's sake. This tiny little thing, and with the stupid table that you're sitting at the beginning, but the dialogue was all funny. The dialogue was all good, and everybody was good. But
that storyline, I mean, thank God for Mary J. Blige and the Sklar brothers.
And you know how Mary J. Blige comes around.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That just came kind of out of nowhere. How'd that happen?
I'm in the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I think I was with Brett Ratner, and he was like, or he was with Mary, and he's like, Doug, Mary like loves Entourage. She would love to be on it. And by the way, I love Mary J. Blige,
right.
like love. And I remember we were standing in the right outside the little diner downstairs. I said, if you want in, you're in now.
Just say the word.
Yeah. So we had to come up with the storyline.
Well, that's what I was saying. So did she sneak into the Sklar brothers, or did that all happen around the casting of Mary J. Blige?
100% happened around the casting of Mary J. Blige. And the Sklar brothers, when they were on the podcast, though, said they were in a scene in an earlier episode, and they kind of improv something or something. I forget.
Gary,
exactly
they said they had a good thing going with Piven.
Yeah,
something, and then this came up. So, but the fact that whole storyline, because unlike, I'm not trying to beat up on Gary Busey here, unlike the Gary Busey storyline, that was kind of ridiculous and didn't pop. Even though you pushed the Sklar brothers thing a little bit, it somehow worked for me.
Yeah. No, all of
it was out there, bro.
It's out there, but yeah. I mean, look, there are. I mean, two of the richest brothers in this town.
Of course,
the guy had sex with his wife. You know who it is.
Of course.
I'm not talking about it, but so it does happen. But inside the agency, but I thought
like them fist fighting was like odd.
It was a little over the top. But Piven was so funny in this episode.
He was,
and I actually, whether Allie wrote it or Weiss or me or whoever, Burns, it was really funny. I thought like,
well, the Sklar brothers like, we can't work together. Like, what are you talking about? Jeter and A-Rod's dick swing around the same locker room and they can't stand each other.
I like that, and I like him talking about like them in bunk beds with their little little fucking their car or whatever he's talking about, and do they, he just keeps going at them like, do you guys take a carpool together? I mean, like it's just it's funny, and the Sklar's like they have a really funny presence, and
you know what? Well, I was thinking about something, dude. Like, and just like I knew Vince wasn't gonna have sex with the guy's wife, I just knew you guys and how protective you were of the characters, and of course, Piven and Ari would say these wild things, but you knew Piven was gonna rectify that.
Yeah, well, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does. He ends up firing the guy, right? I mean,
oh yeah, but he doesn't bring them both back. He fucking throws them out.
He fires both, but he had to resurrect. Like, I can't keep this guy here because he earned money. Like, you had to clean that up character-wise. Piven walks in, and I instinctually looked at both Doug and Gary and said, I'm guessing Piven was not supposed to throw all that shit off the desk, and you guys both like, no, he was not.
Yeah, I mean,
that was rehearsed. I mean, it worked, but
Jeremy
broke many computers.
Yeah, no, he did. And again, it's
like, looking back at it, was it worth it?
Yeah, it was. You know what? It really was. He like
he fucking cleared that motherfucker off.
He's so in, but Gary was there when he cleared off a real computer. I mean, it was like, an Apple computer, but Jeremy's so in.
He also threw his prop phone off the hillside, right?
I don't think Jeremy's doing it to I think he's legitimately in character.
Yeah, of course.
He feels it. And,
of course.
I think that's why he's so good. And the truth is
he felt that one, bro.
A lot of this episode he carries. But let's get into like something that's, Peter Jackson is in this episode, and when people criticize the show, I go, do you realize the greatest filmmakers in the history of this business all came on this show because they liked it. They didn't come on it for money.
That one dropped out of nowhere for me today.
Yeah.
That was a nice little thing, and of course, Doug
looked
and I
great too.
Doug and I go, does anything ever come of that storyline? I'm like, I don't know, dude. We have no idea. I
don't think we ever mentioned it again because, by the way, so Peter Jackson is
only time ever in Entourage history. This one time
that we dropped something like
that. No, that you're gonna tell. Didn't Peter Jackson's in New Zealand?
Twice.
Peter Jackson's in New Zealand doing.
Peter Jackson's in New Zealand. We find that he likes the show and he'll do it, but he wants to shoot it at his real company because he's got a real gaming company. And
he's like, I'll just send you the footage.
Yeah, and B, I'll make it. We actually had 3 times where that happened. I mean,
Peter Berg.
Peter Berg shot something.
Yeah, well, he was not with us. He was somewhere else, like. He was on another B-side of a phone call, and he was.
And he shot it himself.
Yeah.
So, Scarlett Johansson, like
that was the first one.
We had no one on our crew anywhere near Scarlett Johansson.
Just a camera guy.
And again, I don't mean to criticize the guy because he doesn't know our show, but I almost cried when I saw the shot.
Yeah.
The shot with the giant American flag behind her and shooting her from under her chin. No, I didn't like the shot at all.
But when Peter Jackson calls and says, "Listen, I got it."
And by the way,
I'm going to send you the footage when it's done. Because I did the other side of the phone call. Right, you got it. You're like, holy shit, he's got dudes.
Oh, it's better
sword
than
fighting.
Yeah, but also you could see how it animated. That's 18 years ago. You could see how they were fighting, and you saw it on the screen at the same time. It was
he sent all of those assets. You just got them one day and just slid it into the back of the phone.
And by the way, I think I had like a 3-minute conversation with Peter Jackson. It wasn't like I got to. Listen, I want you to bring a lot of
pick his brain. He's like, I got something planned. Yeah. And you're like, great, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. The other time that happened, which was the scariest.
So we got Scarlett, Pete Berg, I remember, Peter Jackson, and who else?
And then the scariest ever.
Scorsese?
Yeah, which maybe we talked about on this podcast.
I don't think we did yet.
This was the worst ever. So Matt Damon tells me that Bono wants to come back on the show and do something for the charity. And I write the script, and we film the episode with LeBron and Matt Damon. And Matt Damon talks to Bono on FaceTime, and we don't have Bono. And Matt, who I swear to you, I mean, the guy is a star for a reason. But Matt on this set, I thought like we were friends for life. I mean, this guy was talking about my writing. I'm like, we're gonna make movies together. We're gonna be doing this. The guy had
like, fuck these losers.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get out of here. Let me do Bourne Ultimatum.
Did I ever tell you that when a guy came running up to me in a garage once and he's like, Doug. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, I'm such a huge fan. I was like, wow. He's like, fucking Bourne Identity. I'm like, I'm not Doug Lyman. I'm Doug Ellin, whatever. I don't even know how we confused us, but that happened. But so Matt actually had an Ari Gold monologue memorized verbatim and said nobody writes like this in TV. Anyway, I have to say this now, not to be a narcissist because some jerk off says I'm a narcissist and mean to Connolly, because it made me feel very good. It made me feel very nice. So,
Yeah,
but
of course, Matt Damon's.
but anyway, I thought Matt and I it'll be Matt, Ben, and I from now on. You know, like that's gonna be the thing.
Connolly and fucking Dillon are jerk offs, bro.
I think Matt can play Johnny Drama.
Me and you and Ben.
By the way, let's read this. Matt's Vince, Casey's fucking drama. So then we're done. 10 days until the episode is aired, and I have no idea how I'm supposed to contact Bono, you know, and I'm like asking Brian Burns.
But what, you need his side of the footage?
I need his side of the phone call. He has to talk to the screen and whatever their conversation
and all
was.
you need is just like whatever, just anything.
Well, now I'll tell you, it's not just anything. So anyway, I email Matt Damon, you know, who I expect a quick response. I get nothing. Nothing.
Jerk off. How'd this guy get my email?
Panic starts setting in. I have no idea what to do. And then Will McDonough, who I think Will McDonough got us Tom Brady. No, Mark got us Tom Brady. I'm sorry. But he came with Tom. He was a friend of Tom's.
Will McDonough's like friends with Gretzky's buddy, right?
I guess I met Will through Tom, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, somehow I tell Will I'm in this bad spot and I wasn't looking for help. And he goes, I swear to God, he goes, oh, I'm going to Dublin for the U2 concert tomorrow. Just give me the script. I'll get it done. And I'm looking at this guy like, what the fuck are you talking about? Okay, like I need
desperate times require desperate measures.
So anyway, he leaves.
So like one of Brady's boys is like, yeah, bro, send me the script. I'll have him record it.
Yeah, and by the way,
for HBO.
Yeah, and by the way, it gets to the point where I have no option.
Season 4 too.
I am gonna show. We're gonna put this clip on this segment because it's so freaking awesome. But anyway, Will's going to the concert. I speak to him from Ireland. I don't remember if we texted at that point or phones. I don't know how that works. Or what year this is, 2000 whatever. And
7.
He says concerts tonight, okay? You'll wake up in the morning, you'll have it. Now, by the way, he's not even telling me that he's friends with Bono or that he spoke to him. Just he's got great seats and he's going to make this happen. I wake up in the morning and I have an email, okay? And it is a video of Bono doing this dialogue. And it's what could have happened with Peter Jackson, except for Peter Jackson's like an all-time filmmaker.
Academy Award
He
winner.
understood how he should talk to actors. But Bono, who I believe I was told is a fan of the show, knows the show,
he did a couple things for it, so he must have some reference.
But this video looked like he had no idea what was happening. So he's talking to Vince, and I wish I watched this footage before I saw it, but I have it at my house. I wake up, and he is like, Vincent Chase. And
is he into a phone? Is it a phone? Or
he's
is it
on
like
camera talking to FaceTime.
Okay.
So he's doing what he's supposed to do, but he's doing it at a pace that would be like 4.5 minutes to do whatever that little phone call is. And he's doing it in, again, U2, one of my favorite bands, Bono, one of my idols.
Peter Jackson understands pace a little bit better, scene pace?
I don't know what happened, but I honestly was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I mean, this is airing in like a week, 10 days, and this and that. And I had to call Will McDonough and go, I need another take. I need to get on the phone with Bono. I need 90 seconds to talk to him, just to give him what I need. But when I'm
Let
saying
me ask you this: if you obviously you pulled it off. If you couldn't pull it, if you didn't pull it off, would you have been able to cut a version with the other video?
No.
I've never heard this story.
No.
This is great.
No way.
It was like unusable that first video.
Unusable. Okay, it would be
And
like
you have it.
By the way, it would be the equivalent.
It's like this is a different show.
It would be the equivalent of you get to the U2 concert and instead of Bono, it's me singing up there.
Right.
Okay, it's not usable. Okay, 1,000,000%, and it'll be usable
Looked
for
like
this
you had a couple cocktails.
because it was funny. It was funny for something else. But what was so awesome is I am in a complete panic, and I tell Will we need another take. But I'm saying this like there's no way this is ever going to happen. I don't even know how he made this happen in the first place. I'll get it. I'm like, I need to talk to him for 2 minutes. Just get me on the phone. And he did. And we got it. And
Hello,
and
Doug.
It was great. It was great.
Hello, Doug.
It was
yeah,
awesome.
mate. You know, I was the last time around. I was just coming off stage.
Yeah, that's definitely not Irish.
How was that?
I think I don't know if it's British or bad Australian. I don't know. But it's
It's
terrible.
something.
But
I know.
anyway, that was an amazing story. And I by the way, just so we
That's
can
pretty
be
wild.
clearly understand this, I'm not criticizing anything about Bono. He got a piece of paper.
No,
he
it
was
was-
asked to
it was-
talk into
no,
a
it was
camera.
nice of him,
He
bro.
probably,
It's
but he
nice
probably
of
didn't
him.
even know what the hell he was doing.
He's did 2 episodes for us for free.
Yeah.
So Bono falls into the
and gave
friend
us those
of
tickets.
Entourage.
We
gave
got all
us
those tickets.
But I mean, the Peter Jackson thing again. I don't know how I didn't see that coming. And you're right, Doug. I don't think that goes anywhere. Maybe something, but
Vince doesn't end up doing a Peter Jackson movie.
that was a really nice little touch. And I remember you saying, "Yeah, I'm waiting for him. He was just going to shoot it." And
I mean, think about the Academy Award-winning filmmakers on the show. Scorsese.
Did he send you a bunch of a bunch of angles? Do you remember? Was it multiple angles? I mean, it was a phone call, right?
I don't think he.
Did we send him my end of the phone call first?
I don't remember, but I don't think he left a lot of room for us to.
The
edit.
scissors?
He made sure. And
He's
by the way,
like, trust me,
it was perfect. But
they're
Connolly,
not going to be able to cut this.
Connolly, think about it though. Scorsese, Cameron, Van Zandt, Darabont. I know I'm leaving out
M. Night.
M. Night. I mean, like, these are the best filmmakers in the world who all wanted to be on the show,
Yeah,
which is
it's true.
and by the way, didn't get paid for it.
Right.
And it's just awesome.
Behind the
So
scenes.
it was, I mean, it was wild because I always said the thing about always struck me about the directors is how happy they seem to not be directing. Remember Cameron was in the makeup chair. I was like, so this is what you guys bitch about all day long? And he was like all stretched out. He's like, wow, I really feel sorry for you guys. Cameron, of all the guys that came on, he was the most, I don't know. He was the most one of the guys, strangely.
He was awesome.
Totally.
Isn't that weird?
And
Van
of all
Zandt,
people,
too.
you would have thought it'd been the other way around.
And also, just for knowledge, which I've talked about on the podcast before, but he's writing Avatar in the trailer in Pasadena. And I swear on my life, he comes out and he goes, how do you write this dialogue like this? I'm writing these blue people and stuff. I didn't even know what he's writing. And he wrote the biggest movie in the history of the business. And now this one's bigger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's massive.
Massive.
Dude, we were standing outside of the soundstage when Vince and Mandy Moore are hanging on the wires, and we're all between setups. Cameron and I are out there, and a production van drove by, and I looked at my hair in the window, and the van goes by, and Cameron just got locked in on me. He's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, you literally stared at yourself the entire time that he's like, but it was like a bit for him, like about actors.
He's the best.
But he was really cool.
And
man.
Connolly, I mean, we've talked about it, but it doesn't matter. 'Cause
I
people won't
tanked
remember.
my
You
Avatar.
auditioned for Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
I
which
mean, I'm
role again?
clearly based on that, obviously.
Yeah.
You know?
You what?
Clearly based on Entourage. I mean, they called. I mean, I auditioned at his house. I mean, it was, yeah. And,
I know I've asked you about it before, but it still fascinates me. And I don't know if Gary's ever heard this. Have you ever heard this, Gary?
No.
So you went to James Cameron's house. It's James Cameron and what?
So I get, that I'm testing for whatever that could mean anything. You could do 50 of those. He could do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He's James Cameron. But what I was under the impression that we were doing the casting office, and then they call you in and they bring in, and I'm like going to this address, and I pull up. I'm like, this is a house. This is a house.
A
Right? I
massive
ring
house.
the doorbell, and James Cameron is standing in the doorway.
That's so sick.
Right, and then he brings me into his screening room, and he showed me like 20 minutes of the movie before he even shot. He
That
showed me a bunch of
is
stuff. I'm
sick.
sitting in the screening room with James Cameron with 3D glasses on, watching 20 minutes
By
of
the way, you have
Avatar.
not told this part.
Yeah, we're like watching it. He was so cool. And then he proceeds to bring me into the kitchen, which is, I guess, where he felt the lighting was best.
Yeah.
And I'm auditioning, I'm doing the scene, and he's like rolling around on the ground, literally on his hands and knees, rolling around, like shooting me from different angles with his camera. And I'm like just supposed to be, and I admit I choked.
So
100% choked. I just wasn't mentally prepared for that. At his house, he's rolling around, shooting me from. I'm doing the scene with the casting director, and he's like at my feet, like rolling around, shooting angles and all kinds of shit.
It's the sickest thing.
So I just didn't.
And do you remember like doing this audition, going, "I'm so fucking nervous"?
I
now?
just remember thinking, I'm not in the moment. I am not living in the moment.
That's incredible. Two James Cameron stories is one of the coolest shots we ever did was him in the helicopter.
Yeah, that was
Remember that? And the helicopter was obviously on the ground. I think we shot it at Paramount. It was raised up about 14 feet in the air. Such a cool shot.
I remember pulling up that day and looking at Cameron in the helicopter. Like,
It was,
man,
I was like,
a big
this
show.
is I've got some great behind the scenes photos of that. And then also we were lucky enough to go shoot at his actual office. They let us shoot there.
Yep.
And all
that's
the
right.
elements in his office of all his movies is just, you really just incredible space.
Yeah, I mean, really think about that.
Didn't we, Doug? Didn't you guys ask him for an extra day? And he was like, "No, I think we can get it done on this
You
day."
know what?
That he
I
did.
feel like that might happen.
No way. It's like, hey, and can we shoot at your place? Yeah. And will you pop in? Sure. And will you do this? No. Like at a certain point.
I think that did happen.
At a certain point, he's like, I'm
But
not
also,
coming back tomorrow.
Gary, do you remember the practical joke you played on me?
I do not.
What?
Maybe.
So, I
It
mean,
would have been great to have Peter Jackson on set because I feel like he would have been cool.
that would have been awesome. But I get.
Oh,
to
by the way, Darabont. Jesus.
I said it.
Yeah.
Darabont's on the list. You'll hear it when you listen back.
Thanks.
To the show. So, James Cameron, I got to the set, which you were obviously involved in this on the helicopter day.
Yeah.
And he's you, I'm sure, was you because you're probably the ringleader of this, or running over and like Cameron's freaking out. This is not what he agreed to. The script, he hates it. This
Remember
and that.
this?
Blah 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 blah. You don't
I
remember
was
this?
I was in the front, the forward part of the vehicle for that. I wasn't necessarily driving it, but I was heavily involved.
And by the way, I'd heard that Cameron is tough, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm calling Connolly, seeing Connolly, text Connolly, but I'm like,
I was like,
Like,
yeah,
is-
man. Oh no, I carried it on. I was like, yo, man, I wasn't there, but I heard that something went down at base camp or something.
I'm like
Is
in
what
a
I said.
golf cart. I think it's on Paramount, right? Is that where we shot that helicopter?
Yes.
Yep. I'm in a golf cart, and I'm literally like, I don't even know what to say here. I mean, I sent him a script. He wrote me an email that he's psyched and happy to be there or something. I get there. He's screaming, where's Doug Ellin? What is this crap? And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm about to throw up.
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating. And I get up the thing, and I'm looking around, and everybody starts laughing. And I'm
He
like,
was a total gamer, man.
he's the fucking best.
He
just
loved our crew. I mean, he thought, he runs probably the tightest ship
of course.
ever, no pun intended. But he loved our crew. I mean,
Right.
he was involved.
Well, it's
But
nothing
he
not
was
to love.
impressed.
We had a high. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
impressed.
he
We had
was
a high end
impressed.
crew, and he's looking.
He
going,
didn't deal with Busey, though. I mean, he didn't-
What?
He didn't deal with Busey, Cameron.
Yeah, exactly.
Might have been a different thing. Do you remember, though? I mean, we're talking about an episode. We've already discussed it. I know it, but it was such a memorable evening. But she's an Emmy-winning actress now, but from This Is Us.
Oh yeah.
But she had a tough.
Was the sinking of the ship, the aforementioned crash of the Y2K? It was like a big chunk of dialogue, and with Cameron and
Sinking of the
man,
ship.
sinking of the ship.
Singing the
Oh
ship.
my
And that was like take
couldn't say
30.
it.
And Cameron, who
Dude,
again, I
my-
swear to God, is writing Avatar, and he wants out.
Right.
He's.
Yeah, no, that was. By the way, she went on to win an Emmy, so good for her. But it
By
was
the way, she's awesome on the show, and she was awesome on our show.
For
and
an
I would
actor, for an
kill to
actor.
get her on here to ask her if she remembers it.
for an actor. It's a really, really, really tough spot to be in. And then you add the James Cameron effect, which I don't even think was what was jogging her. I
But
really
you
don't.
But you don't know. Just like you with him in the kitchen, it could have been like, holy shit.
I don't.
Like-
It just seemed like no, because remember she was like, oh, "You go." Remember she told him, "You
go.
just go." And
Yeah.
we'll
I'll
come
catch
back.
up.
I'll catch up. Yeah, no, but yeah, man. Like I said, they always just seem to be happy to not be directing. But Cameron came in with jokes. I mean, it's crazy.
And they were all happy. I mean, Darabont was awesome.
Darabont was great. I
Uh,
mean, we were like kind of friends at Darabont
Yeah,
first. We went to
yeah.
a couple dinners at
Yeah,
Darabont.
I thought
What'd
I'd
you
be
do to
hanging
blow
with
that one?
Darabont too. I mean,
We
by the way,
shot
why
on.
don't we
Fuck
get him
these.
on the podcast? Frank Darabont, creator of The Walking Dead, writer and director of The Shawshank Redemption, The
Redemption.
Green Mile, and many
The
other
guys.
things. And
The
honestly,
Mist.
one of the nicest guys in the world. And by the way, that pilot, I know you're a huge Walking Dead fan. For whatever reason, he left after the first season. I didn't really watch it. That's one of the best pilots ever. I mean, it's genius. So
Phenomenal.
How about Scorsese too? We shot him at the DGA
Yeah.
off of 57th Street, New York.
that was.
Did you fly out there, Gary?
Yeah, we spent a week. We were there for a week.
Must be nice.
Well, you were there too. We did we were in Queens.
Oh, it was when we were shooting. that
you were
scene.
there too.
Yeah, I was there.
It was when we were shooting. Oh no. I thought you guys went on a splinter.
He was ready to block you. Like he blocked me when he couldn't shoot at Yankee Stadium. All right, what
was-
else?
no,
what
that
are we
was-
missing on this
What
episode?
else? Locations in this, downtown LA. We rarely shot in downtown, seedier parts.
Why
That
were
was
we in
kinda cool.
downtown? For what?
For the down Hollywood Boulevard area. Not
Right, but that
downtown,
was
but
like
that's a
Hollywood.
unique
Hollywood
look for
wasn't
us.
downtown.
And shooting at that where the desk was actually bought was a place called Blackman Cruise, which is a really
Who got us that location?
my wife,
There
Julie
you go.
Goldman.
Team effort
There you go.
everywhere we
My
turn.
wife, you can follow her at with _Julie. She's an incredible interior designer, which how she knew that this place would be amicable to us
And it was
shooting.
great. And then also a little sad news on this episode because Gary brought it up. We were watching it, and the
The guy
furniture
who's trying
guy-
to get the desk in
Yeah.
to the. into
I
the
mean, it was
apartment.
awesome. And Gary said this guy went on a tear with commercials.
He
then.
was like the Bud Light. He was the driver of
Budweiser.
the Bud
Yeah.
Light truck, wasn't it?
I
Was he
can't
like-
remember
I
exactly,
think
but
it
he
was
did like a Super Bowl spots.
He had a
everything for
massive
years.
campaign going.
Stock
for
tip.
Was it
Chippy? What was his name?
Chip? What was it?
Wendell Middlebrooks.
But the sad news is we looked it up and wanted to see his career, and he passed away
yeah.
a while ago at a very young age. So I don't know what happened to him, but he was awesome, and he stands out, by the way, in that scene. He's
does.
funny as hell.
Chip, what were the commercials?
He was Miller High Life TV commercials. He portrayed the delivery man.
I got to tell
he
you,
had a campaign. It was
can
like
I give a
couple
little
year
something,
gig.
like a sidebar? Chip is quicker than Stock Tip because that's the fastest research I've ever. So Chip, it might. I'm just saying.
Chip Van Grove.
I still have no idea.
There's
did
a
Glenny
description.
Did Glenny Balls rebrand himself from something else? or not?
No. But Dave is like he wants everything to be not cool. But I'm saying like you gotta go brand and play your character.
Right.
Go be Chip Van Grove.
All right. So, and by the way, Glenny Balls does love Entourage, and it's funny as hell. So if
And
anyone
he's
doesn't know what
doing
we're
really,
talking
really
about,
well, Glenny Balls.
he's doing better than us.
He's doing a lot better than us. Yes.
Kevin loves this right here. It says, Chip because they used to call my grandpappy Chip, and I can't erase that for 14 days.
What do you mean?
per
That's
Instagram.
where, Dave? We don't
In his
understand what you're
description.
saying.
On the description under my name.
In Instagram.
Yeah.
It's
So
cool,
then you
Dave.
have 14 days to decide if you want to go along with that rebrand. But all right, that's it. That wraps up
Oh,
another.
we covered all?
Yeah, we covered it all.
Thanks for having me.
Gary, good insight as always. Gary's desk finally put to bed.
Action Park
Media.